Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining wherever you are joining me from. We are just going to do a simple seated practice today that focus really on the breath, on the mind, and just staying nice and low to the mat, doing a bit of deep stretching and mindfulness practice, mindful breath work. So go ahead and get in a nice comfortable seat. I'm seated on a bolster. You can sit on a pillow, cushion, blanket, whatever you have, or just the ground, however you are comfortable today. Sometimes it's nice to have the hips elevated, but whatever you are feeling, however you'd like to begin your practice. So go ahead and get nice and comfortable. And once you are comfortable in your body, just gently closing the eyes. If they are twitchy or fluttery, no problem. Just being patient as you begin to invite a bit of stillness, a bit of darkness, having those eyes closed. Maybe you are coming from your work day, or maybe this is the first step of your busy day. Wherever you find yourself, just putting aside whatever is to come, whatever's ahead for your day, or whatever you are leaving behind from your day to show up here on your mat, and just making that intention with yourself to be completely present as possible for this time on your mat, for yourself. And as your eyes, as your breath begins to get a little more steady, a little more still, just begin to sink in deeper to your physical body. Starting to notice the weight of your seat on whatever you are seated on, the weight of your hands, however they are resting on your legs. Maybe you have them on your chest, on your heart, whatever your formation, your body, your mudra with your hands looks like today. Noticing just that sensation of that resting on your body, noticing your body resting on the floor, just that general compression down towards the earth, that groundedness, connection. Noticing if you can begin to lengthen your inhales and your exhales, even if it's just a fraction of a second more. Just taking in mind what that does to the body. Noticing if you can feel your shoulders release down from the ears a bit. Releasing any tension in the jaw or the brow. Wherever you hold tension, those are just a few key areas, but if you notice maybe your fists are clenched, or you're squeezing the back body, you're squeezing your low back or your glutes or your hamstrings, even your feet, noticing just by scanning through the body a bit where you might be holding on, and just seeing where you can release any unnecessary tension, any unnecessary grip, whether that's physical or emotional. Maybe you aren't comfortable in this seated posture for too long. Maybe you have an experience that this seated upright instead of laying down or laying belly down for your meditation practice feels a bit vulnerable or unsteady, uneasy. Noticing that tension as well, that tension in the mind, that mind-body relationship. Not necessarily choosing to run away from it, but observing it, exploring it, getting curious with these things. I'm not saying you have to torture yourself when things become uncomfortable, but simply observing, considering the why, the how, just getting a bit more familiar with your body, how it operates in conjunction with that mind, with the breath, and what these things, how they work together as tools, as cues, what we can take from that feedback. So as you're nice and steady here, go ahead and take 3 final breaths. And your next breath in, go ahead and open the eyes as you lift the arms all the way overhead, dropping the shoulders down from the ears. So we don't want to scrunch them up too high, dropping the shoulders down. Take a big breath here, chest is nice and lifted. Maybe you notice a slight arch in that low back. Exhale as you bring the arms back down by the sides. You can remove that cushion at any time if it gets uncomfortable. Otherwise, stay seated on that if you'd like. Inhale, both arms lift. Exhale as you release. Take 2 more breaths like that. Big breath to movement connection. Inhaling as you lift the arms. Exhaling down. This time as you take that breath in, exhale, we'll take a twist towards the right. So just linking that left hand to the right knee. Letting your right hand just sort of, maybe fingertips come to the ground behind you. Maybe it comes to your cushion or your bolster. Just keeping nice and tall in that spine. Nice and lengthened, like your head is just drawing up towards the ceiling. Maybe you start to look out over that right shoulder. Just adding in a little twist for the neck. Just 1 more breath in here. And as you exhale, coming back to center. Inhaling, both arms lift. As you exhale, take your twist towards the left. Noticing those little micro adjustments you can make to just make this twist more comfortable for you. Maybe it is bringing that back hand up a bit. Maybe it's easing up on your twist a little bit, not taking that right arm across quite as far. Maybe it's not looking over that left shoulder. So finding what works for your anatomy here. Taking 1 more breath in. Exhaling back to center. Well, I'll go ahead and remove that bolster if you have it. We'll take both legs out wide in a V. Getting nice and settled here, moving any flesh out of the way to really get seated on our mats. Inhale, arms lift, pulling the toes towards you. So you're flexing the toes, really rooting those heels in towards the mat. As you exhale, just hinge forward. Maybe your fingertips just come towards the floor. Maybe your elbows can drop down. Whatever level you can fold forward at. Just letting the head hang heavy a bit. Taking a few deep breaths here. Keeping those feet lifted, flexed, pulled towards you. And then gently walk both hands towards that right foot, framing the right foot Instead of letting that chin drop here, keep the chin nice and lifted, lengthened, like just looking out towards those right toes. Noticing that stretch in that upper left half of the body. If you want to deepen that stretch, you can take that left hand to the outside of that right leg or right foot. But keeping the spine nice and lengthened here, keeping the head lifted. Go ahead and gently walk the hands to frame the left foot. Keeping that same lift of the chest, of the face. Just one more breath in. And exhaling back to center and just gently rolling back up to a seat. We'll take cross-legged here. Just bringing the hands to the knees and taking a few nice shoulder rolls back and down. Taking these as exaggerated as you wish, waking up the entire torso. Beginning to sink that breath to this movement. Maybe you inhale around the top of your circle, exhale around the bottom, or just do one full breath for one full circle, whatever works. Go ahead and switch directions with your movement, rolling forward and down, almost like you're adding in a little bit of cat-cow-like spine. Just one more here. Go ahead and come back to center, get nice and grounded again. We're going to take just some big circles all the way around. Sufi grind. So taking our body around, but keeping ourselves nice and steady in the hips, feet that are planted on the floor. So if you're taking it so wide that your hip or your leg starts to want to lift off, reining it in just a bit. Just keeping that circle. It's a big, intentional circle, stretching out the body, but you're steady, you're grounded in that lower half, really just rotating that top half of the body around, adding in more of that cat-cow nature, so really tucking the belly button in as you circle back around, pulling the chest through, arching the back as you circle around the front. And as you take your circles to the sides, really stretching, sending the body over one leg, out over the other. So you're stretching up, waking up the entire body here. Go ahead and switch directions if you haven't already. Nice, again, just sinking that breath, however makes sense to you. Inhaling around that front half of the circle, exhaling around the back. We're taking a nice long breath in the entire way around. Exhaling around the next circle. Go ahead and take one more here, and then find a bit of stillness. We'll take a big breath in, and as you exhale, just hinging forward. Similar sensation, but now our legs are crossed. We're feeling more of that stretch for the back, just draping over our crossed legs. So really letting the chin hang here. Gently walking the hands back to meet the body. We'll take a side bend here, inhaling both arms up. As you exhale, take your right hand towards the mat, left arm reaches all the way up and over. As big of a side bend feels safe for your body. If you want to drop down to that right elbow and forearm, can take it there, makes it a little bit more restful. Otherwise, just bending into that right elbow, pressing into that right palm. At the same time, opening up a bit with that left half of the body. So you don't want to collapse down over that right leg, but instead peeling open like you're turning your chest a bit towards the ceiling. Go ahead and gently release back to center. Inhaling both arms, planting your left hand down, right arm reaches up and over. Again, taking a moment to check in that you are keeping that chest nice and lifted. Continuing to breathe. We often want to hold our breath in certain postures, and this is a big one, so making sure you continue that breath. One more breath in here, and exhaling back to center. Let's go ahead and come over to a tabletop. So from your tabletop, we'll keep the toes untucked for now. We'll just take a few shifts forward and back, getting nice and steady in those palms. So taking the fingers nice and wide, really pressing into the fingertips. Maybe finding a little lift under the center of the palms, but really gripping into the entire hand, not just relying on those wrists. If your wrists ever do get sore, or if you have wrist issues, you can always walk the hands out a bit just to help out that bend in the wrists. Take a few more shifts, sending that chest forward ahead of the hands, then taking those hips back like you're about to sink into child's pose. Let's take a few shifts side to side, keeping the back nice and flat. We're not moving the hips. We're staying nice and steady, just like we're dragging one shoulder over one hand, and then taking it to the opposite side. Playing around with that center of gravity, so you'll notice different little muscles of the hands kick in to try to stabilize you as you throw yourself off of that natural point of natural center for your body. Go ahead and come back through center. And take a few rounds of cat-cow. On your inhale, dropping the belly, lifting the face towards the sky. Exhale, rounding the spine, tucking the chin towards the chest. We'll take a few rounds of cat-cow. On your inhale, dropping the belly, pulling the chest through as the face lifts. Exhale as you round the spine, tucking the chin towards the chest. Inhale, cow. Your seat widens a bit here. Exhale, cat. Like you're pushing the mat away from you. Inhale to cow. Exhale, cat. Leading with that breath, so not moving to the next iteration until your breath is ready to. Taking one more round. And come back to neutral, bringing both knees to touch. We'll take that right foot back. You might have to walk yourself up on your mat a bit. So taking your right foot back, tucking those toes. We'll just take a few shifts into that right foot. So coming high on the toes as you shift forward, inhaling. Exhale as you sink back into that right heel. Just keeping your gaze right at that top edge of your mat. Stretching out that entire right leg, the right foot.
On your next inhale, lifting that leg straight behind, keeping that foot flexed. Exhale as you tap down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. 2 more like this. Just hinging, moving right from that hip joint. So the entire upper body, that left leg that's staying nice and steady, that entire rest of the body's staying still here. Lift your leg once more and then bending that knee. We'll take 4 little pulses towards the sky. Straighten your leg. We're going to cross it behind, cross it over the left leg, and take those shifts here. So you'll feel that stretch deepen in that left outer hip. Sinking that breath, inhaling as you shift forward, exhaling back. On your next inhale, lift the leg. We'll tap it over towards the right side of our mat now. Exhale as you tap it towards the left. Inhale, big arc, rainbow shaped lift of the leg as you tap it from the left side of your mat to the right, keeping that foot flexed. Take 2 more like this. Trying to keep that rest of the body nice and stable. Go ahead and come back to center. Separating the knees, taking a nice wide-legged child's pose. Dropping the elbows in your child's pose, making this a nice, restful, not so much of an active child's pose. If you'd like to flip the palms here to give the wrists a little break. Gently coming back towards your tabletop, bringing the knees together. We'll step that left foot back now, taking those shifts high on the toes and back into the heel. Stretching out the entire left leg. Checking in with your hands here. If you're relying too much on those wrists, trying to shift the weight forward in the hands, spreading that weight out a bit, really pressing down in the fingertips. On your next inhale, let's lift that leg, keeping that foot flexed. Exhale, tap down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Take 3 more. Just moving that left leg from the left hip. This time we'll cross that leg over towards the right side and take those little shifts. Maybe you look out towards that left heel, making a little more side bend energy. Your next breath in, we'll lift that leg all the way around, tapping towards the left, and then swinging it back towards the right. So big lift for that left leg, trying to stay as steady as possible in that right planted leg. Just taking 1 more. Coming back through center. Taking child's pose, either that wide knee or a narrow knee child's pose, whatever serves you here. This will give you a little more if you keep those legs together. Give you a little more of a back stretch, really letting the back drape over the legs. Otherwise, with those wide knees, you can get a bit deeper of a hip stretch. Go ahead and send the left arm underneath the right, threading the needle. So your palm stays up, that left hand. You're sinking down into that left shoulder. If you want to walk the right hand closer towards your face, bending the elbow, you can support your twist here a bit. You could even deepen it if you'd like. Really pressing into that right palm, turning the chest towards the right a bit more. But whatever your threading of the needle looks like here, just finding a few breaths of stillness. Gently unraveling from this, coming back to your child's pose. Let's thread the needle to the opposite side, taking that right hand, palm face up, sending it underneath the left, and then dropping down to that right shoulder. Again, you can walk that left hand towards you a bit more, bending the elbow, pressing into the palm as you take your chest towards the left, if you need that. Gently unraveling from this. A moment in child's pose. Keeping the palms and the forearms planted, we'll shift ourselves forward into a belly down position. Untucking the toes, stacking the palms, and just resting the forehead on those stacked hands, finding crocodile. Go ahead and bend the knees so the soles of the feet face the sky. And just drop the feet side to side. Noticing that massage for the fronts of the thighs as you just rotate the legs along the face of your mat. Just let the legs drop towards the right side, just hanging for a few breaths. And take them over towards the left. Coming back to center, letting the feet drop, untucking the toes, planting the hands right outside the chest and pulling those elbows in along the sides. As you inhale here, pressing up, little cobra lift. Exhale as you lower down. Inhale, pressing into the palms, using that back body to support your lift. Exhale down. Two more like this. Keeping those big toes planted on the floor. Go ahead and bring the forearms back towards the mat, coming onto the elbows, finding Sphinx pose, pressing those palms, spreading the fingers, lifting out of the shoulders so we're not sinking down, but rather growing nice and tall. Take a big breath here. Exhale as you sigh it out. Inhale in. Exhale as you release. Take one final breath in. Big breath out. Go ahead and drop the chin towards the chest. Lifting that face back towards the sky. One more lower. We'll end our practice here. Namaste.